All right, so let's take a look here. We're going to go through Barebow form and shot process. We're going to click on the focus map, download it, and we're going to take a look here. So here is the um, the focus map. This was developed by, oh, excuse me, my goodness, I just cannot get rid of this cough. This is developed by Larry Wise. And what's I think there's actually an episode on the Peak Archery project, where Larry actually breaks down how to fill this out, and I will add that to the shooter school as well. But yesterday we were talking about how like Pete was shooting in the subconscious a lot. And here's something I need all of you to understand. That works, and it works well, and it really works well in practice, and maybe even like low pressure situations, but it is very unoften that that works in moments of high personal value. Head to heads, shoot offs, stuff like that. Even in the hunting situation, like you can't just fall back into patterns because if you don't have like a checks and balances to your subconscious shot process, the moment you're going to skip steps, it's just what happens. Um, our brain and our body like to take the path of easy least resistance. And that's where if we aren't thinking about that next step in the shot process, it's understanding, you know, where am I at right now in this shot and what do I need to do? So this focus map allows you to do that, and it allows you to document exactly at what point in the shot process, so timing matters, right? At what point in the shot process that you're doing X, Y, or Z, and this is really built into like seconds right here under time. And then what are you doing? Is it a mind managed or conscious effort to control a thing and make sure that you do it right? Or is it a body feel or subconscious where you can rely on that? The important part, and this is the discussion I had with Pete, a lot of you that are new barebow shooters, and maybe even some like old time or experienced barebow shooters, but they never really dove into shot process and form because they just naturally did it and it worked for them. If you don't know and truly understand what you're doing from a shot perspective and know what that feels like in that moment with your form, it is nearly impossible to fix it when it matters most. So, what I mean by that, and what you need to understand is that when you get into these high pressure situations, and we don't have like a plan to understand, like, hey, I didn't do this on the last time. I know I didn't do it. I identified that. I know how to fix it. And if you just kind of run subconsciously, we're gonna make all kinds of mistakes, and we're not even gonna know it. We're not gonna be able to identify it. And one of the reasons we won't be able to identify it is because as our heart rate goes up just a little bit, we kind of lose some control. But the control that we lose control of recognizing the feel of everything that's happening in that moment. The feel in our fingers, the feel in our bow arm, our grip. Our mind is just screaming inside because we're working on a thing, doing a thing. We really want it bad, but we're not thinking about the actual steps that get us to that end goal. So this document and using this as a shooter and kind of documenting your own shot process. And like I said, I'll share the tutorial on how to fill this out, but you can kind of put it all together and fill it out your own way. What what really what really matters is that this helps you understand at what point you're doing what during your shot process. I also think that the Barebow proficiency checklist also helps with that as well. And maybe those two in a together will really help you understand what you're doing. And you can watch video and stuff like that of yourself shooting to help you understand what is it I'm doing at this point during the shot, blah 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 blah. I guess what Pete's trying to do is some expectation has been built up because Pete has some shoots some really good practice scores and has the ability, and there's no question, to probably do that on a more regular basis. But I said to Pete that I suspect that the ease of shooting in the subconscious is very inviting, and we keep defaulting back to that if we haven't sort of trained and rehearsed how to shoot and migrate between, and on this document here, the mind manage and the body feel side of the shot all the way through this focus map. If we don't understand at what point we're doing a certain thing, I guess the idea is that thing, those steps and understanding where we are at in the shot process, that's what keeps us grounded in those moments of high personal value, in those pressure situations. It's being able to walk ourselves, we calm ourselves down because we're walking ourselves through that process. It doesn't hurt you to double check your hook when it really matters. It doesn't hurt you to double check your grip when it really matters. You just have to be disciplined enough to say, okay, I'm going to do this. This is what I'm going to do. I'm worried about where the arrows go. I'm not worried about winning per se, because I know in order for me to win, I have to shoot my best arrows possible. So how do I shoot my best arrows possible? And that's where, through the shooter school, utilizing items like this, and I will also go back and share uh the proficiency checklist. It's training yourself through those and identifying those situations that actually keeps you grounded and calmer in those pressure related, or fabricated, I should say, situations. So I wanted to share this. I wanted you to get sort of an explanation on the what this is all about and how it works. Um, so you can apply it, because you could be shooting and plucking one day or having an issue, and you're like, well, is it a form issue? Is it a target panic issue? Or am I just not, I'm just rushing through the shots expecting the favorable results, but I'm not really shooting the shot that gives me the favorable result. If you're armed with the ability to identify that, it's going to make your archery journey so much more smooth. Um, and that's what something like this does, is helps you identify that situation and that part of your process that maybe needs to get some refinement in the moment. So let's just talk about that. So we could really subconsciously or body feel set our bow hand. It's something that we do naturally. We do it all the time. Probably 9 times out of 10, it's spot on every time. But the moment you get into a shoot off situation, or just let's just hypothetically say you're up there on the stage at the Lancaster Archery Classic, and you lose a little bit of that feel because you're a little bit amped up. If you just fall into body feel and say you're actually grabbing the crap out of that bow, or you have some undue pressure, some negative tension somewhere that's just random, it's having that forethought to, hey, I'm gonna quick double check my grip, and it takes half a second. I'll double check my grip. Yep, it's good. Okay, now I'm moving on. So um, I think I challenge all of you to try this. I challenge you to really work on identifying those parts of the shot process. And as you go through the course and you learn like the more efficient ways for you to shoot your barebow shot, to make those subtle changes along the road. Do I think that 2 weeks before the classic is the time to make major form changes? Absolutely not. Do I think that if you are going into it with it is what it is, I want to make change for the better. And I'm okay with the results of those changes. More power to you. The problem is that if you do make those changes and say they work for the first couple of days, but you don't give them a full heave ho, when you get on to the shooting line or you get into head to heads, you may default right back to your old self. That can change your tune, your impact, all kinds of things, and your confidence level for that matter. So just keep those in mind. Those are things that you have to juggle as a competitor, and as a shooter. And when you make those changes, you have to have full send, full commit, and for a lengthy period of time until it legitimately sticks and becomes that thing that you can maybe body feel a little bit more um throughout the process because it becomes second nature. So with that being said, that's this quick lesson. If you guys have any questions, you know how to find me. Thanks again.